And in the National Football League, this guy gets up early every Sunday morning, and being that I'm getting a little older and having reading glasses myself, I too wake up with Game Day First on Sunday mornings at NFL Network. He is our longtime friend, partner here on behalf of the Living Classrooms Foundation at WNST.net. We welcome Brian Billick back onto the program. Coach, what's happening? Happy holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, Festivus, whatever you're celebrating, my man.
Happy holidays to you. Great football going on.
Yeah, man, look, I've been through all the ringer with you, with Harbaugh, all the coaching decisions, all the clock management. I honestly, when they were down on the hash to win or lose the game, and that was a decision Doug Peterson had to make on the other side, I thought if they lose this game and they don't go to the playoffs, and this would not be a really good thing all the way around in Steve Bisciotti's office.
Well, it rarely is. And yeah, you could bring it down to a single game and a single decision. You know, we always say these are must-wins and the tight decisions. Well, they're no different than September. We just don't know what the repercussions are of decisions or lost games in September like we do in December. But it was, those are the kind of decisions you got to make. And at the end of the day, the Ravens stepped up and got it done. Yeah, it was a little closer with Philadelphia than you thought. I was a little surprised that Philadelphia ran the ball as well as they did. Ravens front has been so good. But at the end of the day, to make that play, to stop the 2-point play, and I think Doug Peterson made the right call. You know, if I'm Doug Peterson, where you are with that team right now, with the Philadelphia Eagles, you're on the road. It was tough slog all day long against that Raven defense. I think I'll take my chances with a 50-50 shot at a 2-point play.
All right, but it gets to that point when Marty Morningwig gets very, very aggressive down in the red zone. Joe Flacco got aggressive and made a horrific pass, a nice tackle, as he pointed out after the game as well. Just the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles came into Baltimore and got back into that game. And, Coach, that's as close as you can come, to having a kick blow left or right to winning and losing a game at the goal line. I mean, the Ravens played roulette with their season on Sunday afternoon.
Well, but that's where you're at. I mean, you're watching the Pittsburgh game against Cincinnati as well. That game was a little tougher than I think. I think most people just thought these two teams will roll through their respective opponents, and roll into next Christmas Day game against one another, and both realize, no, we got to play both these games because these teams are capable. That defense, Jim Schwartz has done a nice job in Philadelphia. They could put pressure on the quarterback like they did on Flacco. The Ravens didn't necessarily run the ball well because, again, I mean, you got to give Philadelphia and that defense credit. So it was going to be a tough out because Philadelphia is a capable team.
All right, so why pass down there and not run? Why not chew a couple of minutes off the clock when you got a 10-point lead? Why get that aggressive to sort of open the door for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, or if you can complete one of those passes and get a score and get a touchdown, then now you've slammed that door shut. So you got to do what your preparation says you're going to do, whatever the tendencies you feel like they had down there. Maybe you knew they'd be loading up for the run because that was the conventional thing to do. So you play action pass or throw in behind it. So you can run the gambit on woulda, shoulda, coulda. And as we know, it's all viewed through the lens of if it worked, you're a genius. If it didn't, you're the village idiot. And that's just what you do when you make these decisions. I don't think they were haphazard about it. I think they thought this was the best way to get into the end zone. And like we said, they didn't run the ball particularly well today. So once they got down in tough quarters there, maybe they just thought they liked their matchups on the outside.
Coach, I remember the icicles, on your chin after certain games. This one started, it was like summer-like conditions, and then it went through the winter, by the time we got to the end of the football game. I know you sit on the couch there and get the red zone action now these days. The Pittsburgh-Cincinnati thing, we're always scoreboard watching, right, in the era of fantasy football and all that. But it certainly looked like Cincinnati was handling business early on, and here come the Pittsburgh Steelers, now winners of 5 in a row. This is a tall tree for the Ravens on Christmas afternoon, is it not?
It is. One of the things if you're a Raven fan, you want to pull out of the Cincinnati game was Pittsburgh did struggle in the red zone. And, of course, Dean Pease, the two things he'll tell you he always is most concerned about is third down conversions and in the red zone. And so Pittsburgh, who has looked good as of late, the defense did look better, and they have played better. James Harrison is proving to be a force off the outside. The secondary is not making as many mistakes as they made earlier. So this is clearly going to be a better Pittsburgh Steelers team than what they faced in Baltimore. And, of course, we know Big Ben plays much, much better at home against the Ravens, home being in Pittsburgh, than he does on the road here in Baltimore.
Yeah, I've asked you for 2 decades about, like, why is it so hard to win on the road? Now, Pittsburgh gets 2 home games. They get Cleveland, which is like a bye in Week 17. And the Ravens have to win 2 in a row on the road when they haven't won on the road since September. And without Jimmy Smith, I mean, the Jimmy Smith thing, okay, you get through a game against a rookie quarterback who doesn't have special receivers. I think the Ravens are going to miss Jimmy Smith on Saturday afternoon when everybody's sitting down for their dinner and watching some football.
Oh, there's no question about it, because you're going to need him, obviously, with the potential explosiveness of the Steelers offense, and obviously Antonio Brown, who's been kind of quiet of late, so he's ready for that breakout game. Got a couple tight ends that can hurt you with Jesse James and Ladarius Green. But the job one is still Le'Veon Bell. This guy is unbelievable. I mean, this is a guy that ran for 236 yards last week against a pretty good Buffalo defense. And I don't know that we've seen a back like Le'Veon Bell that is a legitimate, if they chose to, be a 350-carry guy that can legitimately run for 300 or 236 yards in a given game, and could literally, if you wanted to play him at nothing but wide receiver, like a wide receiver, could do damage that way. This is obviously going to be job one for the Ravens. You've got to think that the Ravens defense will hold up pretty good against the run, although, like I said, that was a concern for me today. You know the Dallas Cowboys were going to run well because that offensive line is just so good, Zeke Elliott, but I was a little surprised at the way Philadelphia was able to run the ball today.
Justin Tucker, we've talked about these 50-yard field goals and what a weapon this is, and certainly as the weather changes. Coach, I've never been at a game where the weather completely turned 8 minutes into the game. It went from very, very nice to very, very horrible. Having that kicker and having a guy that's got that sort of length at 50 yards, that's just something not a lot of teams have. We're seeing so many of these missed extra points now. We're starting to see sloppier football games. That's a nice part of this, to go into Pittsburgh and say, well, if we got a 3-point game and it comes down to a 48-yard field goal, even into the wind, even into that ugly open end in Pittsburgh, which I'm sure is the way Mike Tomlin would serve it up if he gets the coin flip. I do like that part of going to Pittsburgh with Justin Tucker.
Huge advantage. Huge, because you're right. No matter who you play going down the way here, if they're fortunate enough to get in the playoffs, you're going to win that matchup because of the consistency that he provides. And that's a huge advantage in terms of tactically what you want to do with the play calling, what you think you can get done, just the range that you're going to have and the confidence you're going to have in going for that. The confidence in knowing is, I never thought we'd ever say this, but the confidence that you have knowing that you're going to get the extra point done if that's what you choose to do. So, yeah, I think that's a huge weapon, particularly in the league right now that those teams that get into the playoffs, this thing's wide open, and it may very well come down to a slew of 3-point games.
Yeah, we start to see where the teams get tripped, right, Coach? I mean, look at what Tennessee did to Kansas City on Sunday afternoon. How about the Giants beating Detroit up there in the Meadowlands and doing it with some pretty rock-solid defense as well? But the Chiefs slipping and Oakland slides right on it late in the afternoon in San Diego. It looked like it's more Oakland fans in San Diego than there were Chargers fans. And New England holds serve. The picture's starting to get pretty clear right now, but clearly the North and the South are still far, far up for grabs, and Tennessee's the latest to sort of get in on this party.
Yeah, I love watching the Tennessee Titans play, a little like the Oakland Raiders. These are two really young teams that are getting better as they go, and then, of course, the two young quarterbacks with Marcus Mariota and Derek Carr. Just fun to watch, and obviously Jack Del Rio and Oakland, we're all remembering Jack and his time here. They're fun to watch, and they're good football teams. And if it weren't for Ezekiel Elliott, we'd be talking about what they're doing in Tennessee in the running game and their good offensive line, DeMarco Murray. We'd be talking more about them if it weren't what we were seeing in Dallas. This is a good football team, and they're getting better, so they could very much be a factor. They got to fight it through to the end. Looked like Houston was going to lose on the weekend, but as usual in Jacksonville, they found a way to let that thing slip away, and of course they fired their coach Gus Bradley not long after it. So that thing's going to come down to the wire as well. So we got a lot of exciting football left to play.
Coach, I know you're not a candidate to coach the Jacksonville Jaguars and to be in London next year facing the Ravens, but with that organization, now that the hammer has fallen yet again, give me some observations, because I talk to a lot of people down there. It feels like we played them, every year the last couple of years. So I spend a week down there, and I know a lot of folks down there. Boy, there's such a buy-in on the owner and the stadium, and I was up at the pool back in week 3. It was the last time we won on the road. I don't want to say it feels hopeless, but certainly this Cleveland and Jacksonville, these situations feel like they're a long, long way from getting fixed all over again, right?
I don't think Jacksonville's that far. Now, as usual, it comes down to, well, what do you think about the quarterback situation? I don't know that we know. I like Blake Bortles. Don't know for sure that he's going to be a guy, but I think there's still an upside there. I think there's enough of a question. There's certainly the talent, the skill set is there, and gets into a kind of a more stable situation. I think they're a young team that's got some good young talent, and I think it can be an attractive job in a division that is likely to be fairly winnable. So, I think, and the one thing you also look at, and you got to applaud, I applaud the ownership for sticking with Gus Bradley, not giving into the whims of wanting to fire a guy after 2 or 3 years, giving him a full run, just didn't quite turn out. Gus Bradley's a good man. He's a good coach. But you could, you got to like ownership that's willing to kind of go to bat for you like that and give you an opportunity to fully get it done. So I think it could be an attractive job. We may very well see Mike Smith. Of course, was the Ravens fans will remember, was the head coach in Atlanta, doing a heck of a job with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's a lot of affection for him in Jacksonville because he was there, obviously, with Jack Del Rio. And they'll probably and likely go towards somebody maybe with head coaching experience simply because they went the opposite direction last time.
Well, and then there are the efforts we saw over the week. I mean, I was so excited there was a game on Saturday night, Coach. I was like, hey, it's an NFL game on. Listen, hey, Dolphins, Jets, let's put it on. Boy, the Jets look like they're rolling over. And meanwhile, Miami, as much as we slapped them around here a couple of weeks ago, they're still very much in this thing. And, last I checked, the Ravens are looking up at them.
Yeah, and notwithstanding the Ravens game where they played so well and beat the Dolphins, they've been on a heck of a run now. What is it? It was 7-1.
Yeah,
and did it with their backup quarterback. How does Ryan Tannehill feel? Like, okay, my backup goes in there and throws 4 touchdown passes, which is great for Miami. Now they've still got a little bit of a road. The one good thing is it looks like their last game of the year against New England may not have anything to play for. So that could be an advantage for them if indeed it goes down to the wire like that. And the head-to-head loss to the Ravens is going to be big, notwithstanding what they do with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they're still very much in it and look very good. I'm with you. The New York Jets look like they've just kind of given up the ghost. And I never say a team quits. The difference between playing effectively in this league and not playing effective is so subtle. You can mistake it for a team quitting, but that's a team that just doesn't seem to have any confidence or anything going for itself.
He is our head coach here at WNST and world champion, Super Bowl 35. Brian Billick joins us here on behalf of the Living Classrooms Foundation. You can learn more at livingclassrooms.org. They're doing some great work with Under Armour in the house over on the east side of town. I checked that out a couple of weeks ago. And you can always follow Granddad Coach Billick at Coach Billick out on Twitter as well. What do you want to say about John Fossil? Because I got to tell you, Thursday night we were collecting cans at Buffalo Wild Wings up in White Marsh for our friends at Sark up in Harford County. And there's John Fossil walking the sidelines, and I said, Billick's got a little piece of that young man there. Impossible to not like John Fossil, right?
Yeah, if you have a problem with John Fossil, it's you. I promise you.
It really is, right?
Outstanding young man, outstanding young coach, and I think the league is beginning to come around to see that that's an untapped resource. Special teams coaches who you don't, normally you think of an offensive or a defensive coordinator for a head coaching position, but it makes so much sense to have a special teams coach. He's maybe a little young to really get on that cycle just yet, but people will think of him in those terms. Tough situation to step in LA, but they picked the right guy because the players, as you know, the players love John. They love playing for him. He has the ear of these players. He will keep them fired up, and they will play hard. They're not very good, as we saw the other night, but they will play hard, and it's a great opportunity for him for maybe platform all but in a short period of time. for what could be potentially down the way head coaching opportunity. He will have whatever goes on in L.A. He will be highly sought after as a special teams coach around this league.
Coach, I had someone come up to me last week and said, next time you get Billick on, tell him, and I don't even know if I don't want to put words in your mouth, but did you take some heat for saying that the Browns weren't going to win a game this year?
Yeah, that was, you go back to the beginning of the season, that kind of took a life on its own. As you know, with whether it's at the NFL Network or all the radio shows, we're talking about who's going to be good, who's going to struggle. And I would never, ever predict anybody to go 0-16 any more than I would predict someone to go 16-0. It's just statistically not, almost impossible. But I did make the comment, I would never predict them going 0-16. I just don't see where they're going to win a game. And I don't know that they're going to be favored in the game. And so that blew itself up, and of course they took offense to it, thought I was crazy, and like we do in the media, we're sixth graders that got to go across the courtyard to say, did you hear what Coach Billick said? You're going to go 0-16, and obviously Hugh didn't care for that, and I understand that. Turns out to be pretty prescient.
You got any stock tips for me? Anything else that I can work with here, Coach?
Well, and I don't take any joy in that. I have no agenda with the Cleveland Browns. They're just not a very good football team right now, and they've got a ways to go.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. I saw Sean Payton sort of lose control a little bit. Had a player come after him, a couple of guys jawing there. Some words that he's an interesting guy because his contract's so heavy, right?
Yeah, and I wrote about it last week. Everybody will have 8-9 guys fight it. No, I don't think so. I think there's a little more continuity in the league now for a number of reasons. I think owners see that's not necessarily the way to go. Two, they're paying the guys enough now that that's a pretty heavy hit. Because remember, coaches' contracts are guaranteed. That will be interesting. Sean Payton's at that point in New Orleans, and it's the typical 9, 10, 11-year syndrome of, at some point, sometimes there needs to be change just for change's sake. New Orleans will be interesting to see what they choose to do. Obviously, he's an excellent coach. Probably be coveted if should he leave New Orleans. But obviously the season hasn't gone well. And you're fighting the typical battles you do when you've been there for as long as Sean Payton has. That will be one that will bear watching at the end of the season to see what they do.
All right, last thing for you here. Quarterbacks and coaches, right? I mean, that's where we are in the offseason. You're questioning Blake Bortles. They're going to have a new coach in Jacksonville. They're going to have a new coach in L.A. They got a quarterback. Somebody's going to have to inherit him. How about the John Elway thing where he allows Osweiler to leave, and now, he doesn't look like a real quarterback in Houston after all the money. They went with Simeon. It's pretty clear Simeon's not getting the ball down the field, and New England just literally, flew up there at 5,200 feet and ate them up defensively on Sunday afternoon. Yeah, boy, Denver and Houston, it looks like Elway out of all of this after Manning, he still doesn't have a quarterback, right?
Well, we still don't know what Paxton Lynch can do. He's played a little bit and looked okay at times, not so much the other. Trevor Simeon's a great story. He's just I equate him to a Brian Griese. And I don't mean that as a criticism. I think he's a solid quarterback. It could be a solid backup for you. Could give you extended play. I don't know that he's going to be a top flight guy. And we can see, you got to give he and Gary Kubiak credit for recognizing, these guys should know a little bit about quarterback play, having played in this league. And of course, Elway's a Hall of Famer. And Kubiak's coached him long enough, as well as being a backup quarterback in this league a long time, that basically said, you know what, we don't think Brock Osweiler is worth the money people are talking about. Turns out they made the right decision. And so from that standpoint, as is typical, we've said it many, many times. You're either a team that has a quarterback or you're one that doesn't, and better be in the process of finding one, because this league is still all about having one of those guys.
Pretty good week we got going here. I know you got grandchildren and trees and gifts, and we got football all day Saturday. I mean, they know what they're doing in this league, right? Christmas Day, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Denver, Kansas City, Monday night, Detroit, Dallas next week. This is going to be pretty tasty this weekend to go along with all the family and friends and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and you gotta love the way they lay the schedule out now that the teams all play. Most of them try to play within the division at the end. So these head-to-heads, you talk about. Obviously, Houston having to take on Tennessee, there could be huge ramifications. You have a lot of teams. You got Detroit and Green Bay. So we got a lot of teams in these last 2 weeks of the season that can make or break because they're playing division games. Makes it really exciting going into New Year's.
Hey, stay safe. Enjoy your family. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you, Coach. We appreciate you.
You as well.
You got it. There he goes, Coach Billick, out on Twitter, as well as here on WNST.net for the Living Classrooms Foundation, and, of course, at NFL Game Day first on Sunday mornings on the NFL Network. I watch every Sunday morning. You can as well. This Sunday morning, I'll be probably in Baltimore. I don't know. I'm going to Pittsburgh on Christmas Day. I've had people hit me about a bus trip. We do have our trip on sale now. Everything for London is up. It's up at WNST.net. You can fire me an email. I am a very available individual. Nasty at WNST.net finds me for that. We're in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We'll be at Adams Jeep on Tuesday night this week and next Tuesday night with Mike Wallace up in Aberdeen. We'll be swabbing for the Bone Marrow Registry at Adams Jeep. Any other news stuff that's going on, you can find it at WNST.net, and our breaking news happens first on the WNST Tech Service. That's all brought to you by our friends at Coons Ford at Security Boulevard. And, of course, Dennis Colatzos will be here on Thursday getting you ready for Thursday night football, and Saturday and Sunday and Monday. There's plenty of NFL during this holiday week, not to mention the bowl games and the Terps going out to Detroit next Monday as well, and the Terps in Baltimore on Tuesday night against Charlotte this week. So we got Caps, we got Terps, we got stuff to talk about, and we got the game of the year. Ravens heading off to Pittsburgh for Christmas Day. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook Live, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.